Hi there, welcome to Transcona Trailer Sales. Today I'm going to be walking you through your 2025 Coleman 28Bhs. We are just going to start off the back of the unit. If you notice up top, you are pre-wired for an observation camera as well as a lippered collapsible stair system. If you'd like to get set up with either of those, you can contact the parts department. You've got your spare tire located right at the back and then located at this rear bumper cap. Pulling that out. This is typically where you're going to want to store your sewer hose after your first use. We currently have a brand new one located inside the front compartment, which is why there isn't one in there yet. And then you do have your 50 amp twist lock connection here. Now a lot of campsites may not have this, so that's why we have this silver strip here. Line this up, push this firmly into place. 8th turn to lock it in, and then you got that threaded collar to really lock it down. If you follow that cord end back, do have your standard 50 amp plug-in. Now a lot of campsites may not have this, so that's why we do include this 30 amp dog bone adapter. Keep in mind whenever you are using that 30 amp dog bone adapter, you're going down in power. This unit was equipped with 50, so it typically needs 50. If there's 2 air conditioners, you can only run 1 at a time. And then in all 4 corners of the unit, you got these stabilizer jacks. So the way they work is you're going to take your 3/4 inch drive tool, start running this foot down to the ground. Once the foot starts getting close to the ground, there's going to be this little bar down here. You're going to have to lift up on the ring. To unlock it, you're going to want the second arm as close to 90 degrees as possible once the foot's contact with the ground, and that's just to help to keep things stable. Failure to keep that bar as close to 90 degrees as possible could allow it to bend. We don't want that, so again, just making sure you do have it as close to 90 degrees as possible. Whenever you're not using the jacks, making sure you do clip them up with their little safety chains. That way, once you're driving down the road, if they were to fall down behind you and you didn't see, you aren't going to drag them and grind them away to nothing. You're going to come to your first sewer exit right here. You're going to have your gray and your black. You always want to empty your black first. This is going to be your dirtiest water filled from your toilets, and then you could come behind that with your gray, which is typically cleaner water filled from your sinks and your showers. And then you have the galley, which is your last one right up front there. That's going to be typically cleaner water filled from your sinks, your kitchen sink, sorry. Coming up further ahead here, got your hot water service port. So if you've had a trailer before, you probably had a tank water heater. And if you did the winterizing yourself, you probably remember bypass valves. With this water heater, it is a tankless system. It's a bunch of copper coils rounded in a circle. Water flows through it, big flame in the middle, it heats it as it's flowing through. You don't have any bypass valves for this guy. You are going to want to run antifreeze through it. And once you've done your winterization process completely, just cracking that pressure relief valve and leaving it cracked open for the duration of winter. You got your fresh water fill. So if you're out boondocking, your site doesn't have service, you can fill that up with water, and that's what fills your fresh tank. And then you have your city water right down below, which is going to be, if you're out of sight with service, you can just thread a garden hose in there, turn it on. It's going to pressurize all those lines without the need to run your water pump. And then you do have your black tank flush. So if you're noticing false monitor panel readings or just an odor around the unit, that's how you're going to use that. It's just very important you do read the caution sticker. You do have to have the sewer connected and the tank valve open. Reason being, if you're pushing pressure inside of the tank, the pressure's got nowhere to go. It could expand that tank to the point of cracking. Folding this guy open, it's the first side to your storage compartment. Coming around the front of the unit, you got your battery disconnect switch on the front. Batteries inside this box here, and then inside here you got 2 standard propane tanks, and they work pretty much just like home. Open that up counterclockwise like any standard barbecue to open up the flow of propane. And you would now have propane flowing to the unit. If you had to remove this for filling reasons, you just pull up on it, slides right off. Power tongue jack at the front. Coming around to the passenger side of the unit, opening up this storage compartment. That's going to be the tip where you find your starter kit. Now that's going to include a 10-foot sewer hose, 15-foot water hose, some other miscellaneous goodies, including a 15 amp park adapter to go down from 30. But keep in mind, if you're using that 15 amp park adapter to go to a standard house, you're not going to be wanting to run any air conditioners. It really is just to run your fridge and your lights. Tool for your stabilizer jacks to run them up and down. Now, if you are running them up and down with a drill, just be mindful of how much torque you put on them. You don't want to run the risk of bending them. Inside here is just that little mini fridge. Pop it open, control just right there. 5 is obviously going to be the coldest setting. Now, this is typically where you're going to want to come in, which is your main entrance. Now, unfortunately today, there's not enough space to get in this way. So once the stairs fold down, it runs into the bench. But you got these fold out stairs. You're just pulling on that latch. The stairs will fold down towards you. You got adjustable feet, so you can have nice and level stairs at your campsite. Fire extinguisher on the left. furnace exhaust, noticing it is under the awning, so whenever you have stuff under here, if you run that furnace, just keep in mind it is blowing up hot air, so it'll probably get hot and melt something if it's right in front of it. Then you got your bathroom entrance, which is where we're going to be entering today. Pull the stairs towards you, allow you to fix down. That'll allow you to open up your door. You're going to see we do go right into the bathroom, so we'll go over that quickly so we don't have to come back over it later. Light switch on the wall here, turns on the lights, pretty standard bathroom. On the wall, you got your main GFI plug. If you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, this would be the first place I would look. You got test on the left, reset on the right, making sure that isn't tripped for whenever you do. Whenever you have an outlet that doesn't work, just make sure it's not tripped. You got your water heater control on the wall, power button to turn it on and off. Up and down with the temperature setting, push and hold that. As an added safety feature, you're locked to 50 degrees Celsius just so that kids can't scold their hands. If you push that up button for 5 seconds, it'll unlock itself and go up to 55. Like I said, hopefully your kid wasn't watching that because that's how you would do that. Now you get into the main living space, so you kind of get right to. I'm just going to come over here. You got all your light switches on the wall, so the first one there is going to turn on those main living space lights. The second one is going to turn on a little accent lighting here, and then you do have an awning LED light switch. Turning that on turns on that awning LED strip light. You got your slide out switch. Push and hold the down button. The slide out is going to start making its way out. Once it is at its full extension, you're going to hear the motors wind up and click. Now, before you ever run your slide out, you're always going to want to make sure you're super mindful and visual, making sure it goes out nice and even, and always checking it before you run it, that you have enough space on the outside, and of course on the inside. Things do tend to shift during travel, so make sure that there's nothing that's going to get caught in between the slide and the wall. So you can hear that clicking, so it's at its full extension. Now you can check behind the wall just to make sure that you are sealed. You want to make sure you're sealing out that water. Then you got your monitor panel system. It's going to tell you have a black tube, but you don't have a black tube. There's just a black one, a gray one, and a gray two. Gray two is going to be galley. Gray one is going to be for the bathroom there. And then, of course, fresh battery. Pushing the button will give you the corresponding level. And then you do have your awning switch. It's electric. It's pretty simple. You hit extend. The awning is going to start making its way out. Once it is at its full extension, you're going to see the back of the metal tube and a little flap hang down. Sometimes that flap can get stuck, so you might just have to retract it a little bit and try putting it back out again. Always making sure you're going to want to keep an eye on wind speeds whenever you do have that out. Once they start picking up, it's a good idea to bring it in. That way you don't run the risk of bending your arms or ripping your fabric. Now, if it were to start raining, we'll go back through the bathroom here quickly. Now, if we start raining, take any arm front and pull it down towards you like so. Tighten up that little latch here. That's going to change the pitch of the awning head, allowing water to now run off. Now, if you like that angle better because it's going to allow for more shade underneath, you can do the same thing with the front arm. Just making sure that you do loosen these off and allow them both back to their original positions before you try and bring the awning in. That way you don't run the risk of bending anything. And when you're loosening them off, try and keep a hold on the awning. That way it doesn't come sliding out too aggressively. If you go to run that awning in and it happens to be wet, try and make sure you do bring it in at your next earliest convenience to stop the growth of mold or mildew. And holding it in is as simple as holding that retract button. Once the arms contact the side of the trailer, the motors will automatically cut out. So there you go. The awning is all the way in. Behind this door here, unfortunately, because I can't get the stairs down, we can't get the door open. So these stairs do have to come down for the door to open. Behind the stairs is just going to be your fuse and breaker panel. It's going to have all your breakers and fuses. Whenever a breaker trips, they'll sit in the middle, so you do just have to turn it off and then back on again. And then, of course, there's a bunch of fuses. It's always a good idea to carry an extra few on hand in case something were to blow for whatever fun reason. Got your main entertainment center here. You're going to notice this little travel strap, making sure you do latch this up before you start traveling. That way it can't unlatch itself, although it is magneted to the wall. During travel, there's a chance it could pop off and cause damage. If you pull on it, you open it up, you get a nice little pantry space, light just on its own center push button. Then you got your TV pretty much just like home, not much I'm going to show you there. And then right down below you got your fireplace, power button, you got your different light modes you can go through. And then you just have your different, how bright you want it, and it also controls the fan speed as well. And then your temperature setting is just that last one there. Power button to turn that all off again. Now, because this unit is equipped with propane, you got your LP detector right here near the ground. If that guy ever starts going off, don't panic, just turn off the main supply of propane and open up some windows and vents to let some fresh oxygen inside of here. Then you got your fridge. Close it up. All the controls here are on the front. You just have to push and hold the lock button for about 5 seconds. Sorry, you gotta push and hold the lock button for about 5 seconds. Oh, there we go, sorry. Oops. There you go. So you push and hold it for 5 seconds, it unlocks itself, making sure you do push the lock setting. I thought it was the other one. You got function, so you can change all your between all your different settings here. It's gonna change the temperature of the fridge. Lock button to lock that back up again so that you can't change it. Tons of storage throughout this unit. Whenever you're using any of the storage throughout it, just making sure that you're mindful of drains, water lines, and wiring. You're not going to be wanting to affect any of that. And then you got your kitchen space, which again is pretty much just like home. You got your microwave down below. Really cool feature they threw in. It's got a little air fry option. I'm not sure how well it works, but if it did work good, that would be super cool. Flipping this guy back, just being careful because it is glass. You got your stove. Now, whenever you first get to your campsite, I always recommend the first thing you do is firing up your stove. The reason being, when you turn off the propane at the front of the unit, it does allow air into the system. Once air does make its way into the system, it has to be purged out. Quickest, easiest way to purge all that out is just through your stove, because you get to decide how long the gas valve stays open. If you were to try to light your furnace or your water heater, those will only try lighting themselves a couple times before they throw a fault code at you, and that could throw a little wrench in your weekend, which we do want to try to avoid. So that's why I always say fire up the stove. So turning that over to the high option, hitting the igniter. It did fire right on up, of course, today, just because of the system running earlier. Sometimes it can take a few minutes, and whenever you do have one of these gas valves on, just making sure that you are firing that igniter every few seconds. Failure to do so can cause a buildup of gas and a minor combustion, and that probably means you're going to lose some eyebrows and eyelashes, and I don't know about you, but that does not sound like fun. So again, just being careful with that. Behind you, you got your slide out dinette area. It's currently set up as a seating space and a couch. Both of these do fold down into beds. The couch you just have to pick up at the foot, and the tabletop you just have to remove the feet from the bottom, set your tabletop on the desired ledges, and then fill in the cushions to fill in the center. And you'd have yourself 2 extra beds in case you had more people than what the bunks can fit. All the blinds in here are going to work the same way. They just kind of sit where you leave them. On the wall, you got your thermostat, power button. Push and hold the power button to turn it on. It's going to go to your last node setting, so in this case it is cool. Now whenever you're in that cool setting, if you're on with the fan setting on high or low, the fan is going to run constantly on the air conditioner. It's not going to cut out. You're always going to want to make sure you have it on the auto setting is the best setting I recommend, because then it becomes an on-demand system. So if the room's currently saying it's 78 and we're set to 65, once the room reaches 65, it'll automatically cut out the air conditioner. Pushing the button one more time, that's going to kill the air conditioner and fire up the furnace. The furnace runs off of propane, and it moves all its air through the floor portals you have throughout the unit. The air conditioner is going to move air through the ceiling ducting you have throughout the unit. And in addition, you do have a quick dump setting, so you dump all this air into the main living space. If you want, there's also a little screen here. You can blow it every once in a while. You just have to pull in the tabs. It's to help keep the flow nice and steady. Back to the thermostat again. Whenever you turn the furnace off after running, it does run for an additional 3 minutes after firing. And whenever you're on the furnace, you're going to want to make sure you do have it on the automatic setting, because if you don't, again, the furnace is going to run full time. And even if you have the room only set to 72 or 75, it'll go all the way to 90 if you don't have the auto setting on. One more time, we'll get you into fan. Now that's just moving air around with the air conditioner, no heating or cooling involved. And then the last setting is a dry setting, so it's going to just try and take as much moisture out of the air as possible. Now again, you're going to find another sliding door here for the bedroom. Noticing it does have a travel strap. You're going to want to make sure you have that always latched at all times, because if it's not, it's going to allow it to slam around back and forth. It's probably going to damage itself. Again, another thing you're going to want to avoid. You got 2 light switches in here. They're just on their own center push buttons, and then you have one more right at the bed there. You pick up at the foot of the bed. Gives you a tiny little bit of storage space. Underneath, there's also some more storage space too. You're prepped for a second AC. If you'd like to get set up with that, again, just contact our parts department, but you do have all the wiring up top here for it. And then you just have some storage space all around. Now that is going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.